The rally started 20 minutes before sunset. Vought knew the light would hit just right. Golden hour for golden gods. Homelander stood center stage cape catching wind from industrial fans positioned off camera. Stormfront flanked him, violet energy crackling faint between her fingers. Controlled. Pretty. Marketable. The crowd pressed forward. Flags waved. Someone had distributed signs, America's real heroes. Strength through unity. The slogans didn't matter. What mattered was the density, the heat, the way people leaned toward the stage like sunflowers tracking light. Ashley watched from the control tent headset tight against her skull. 12 cameras, 4 drone units. Live feed hitting 6 platforms simultaneously. Her tablet showed engagement metrics climbing in real time. Comments shares the beautiful currency of attention. Camera 3 tightened on Homelander's face when he starts the opener. She snapped into the mic. And for God's sake, keep the protesters out of frame. There were always protesters. Today they clustered behind barricades 2 blocks out. Signs about accountability and dead kids. Vought security kept them distant, irrelevant. The algorithm wouldn't surface their hashtags. Homelander raised both hands. The crowd noise dropped like someone cut the master volume. My fellow Americans, his voice carried smooth and fatherly. We stand at a crossroads. Stormfront smiled beside him. Not warm, sharp. She'd been studying the analytics, knew which phrases triggered the most engagement, which gestures made clips go viral. Homelander sold aspiration. She sold fear dressed as protection. Threats surround us, he continued. From beyond our borders. From those who would tear down everything we've built. The script had been workshopped 3 times. Tested with focus groups. Optimized for shares. Ashley's tablet buzzed. Engagement spiking. Good. She toggled to the wide shot, 10,000 faces tilted upward. Mouths slightly open, absorbed. This was the product. Not justice, not safety. This. The moment when people stopped thinking and started feeling. Homelander's smile widened. But you're not alone. You have us. You have. The lights died. Not gradually, not a flicker. Every LED panel, most phone screens, every camera indicator, dead. The stage went black. A few devices stayed alive. Faraday cases, airplane mode, dumb luck. The crowd noise shifted, confusion rippling outward in waves. Ashley's tablet went dark in her hands. What the hell? She jabbed at the power button. Nothing. Around her, technicians stared at blank monitors. Someone's radio hissed static, then cut out entirely. On stage, Homelander's expression flickered. The smile held, but his eyes moved, scanning. Stormfront's plasma glow intensified, emergency light casting violet shadows across her face. Then the scaffolding groaned, metal twisted. Support cables snapped with sounds like gunshots. The massive LED wall behind Homelander tilted, circuits sparking as connections tore free. Someone in the crowd screamed. Then more voices joined, panic spreading faster than any algorithm. Ashley stumbled out of the tent. Smoke rose from the electrical junction boxes. The entire power grid for 6 blocks fried. Simultaneously, no explosion, no fire. Just instant, absolute failure. She turned toward the stage. A woman stood in the center where the podium had been. Blonde hair, denim vest, completely still. The scaffolding had collapsed around her, thousands of pounds of steel and electronics, and she looked bored. Ashley's breath caught. The woman wasn't posing. Wasn't checking if cameras were rolling. She stood like someone waiting for a bus, mildly annoyed by the delay. Homelander landed 10 feet away, boots cracking pavement. His cape settled. The crowd had scattered, leaving a wide circle of empty space. Good instinct. They could feel it, the shift in air pressure that came when apex predators met. You picked the wrong stage to crash. Homelander's voice carried that practiced authority, the tone that made senators sweat. The woman looked at him, not up straight across. Her eyes were blue and utterly flat. This was a stage. Her voice matched her expression. Dry, unimpressed. She glanced at the collapsed equipment at Stormfront, hovering 20 feet up, plasma building between both hands. Looked like a commercial. Homelander's smile tightened. Do you know who I am? Yeah. She brushed dust off her vest, black fabric, small gold pin near the collar. You're loud. Stormfront descended, boots touching down behind Homelander. Energy crackled up her arms, violet threads spreading like veins. She'd studied this play. 2 apex soups, 1 target, overwhelming force. The crowd would love it. Stand down, Stormfront said, command voice. Camera ready, even without cameras. You're coming with us. The woman turned and walked away. Not ran. Walked. Hands in pockets, shoulders relaxed. Like she'd decided the conversation was over and everyone should accept that. Homelander moved. Flight engaged, closing the distance in under a second. His hand reached for her shoulder. She was gone. Not vanished. Just 5 feet to the left, still walking. Homelander's momentum carried him past, cape whipping. He spun. You think you can... She stopped, turned. Her expression hadn't changed. Bored, waiting. I don't want trouble, she said. But you should stop touching people without asking. Stormfront's plasma blast hit where the woman had been standing. Concrete exploded. Smoke billowed. When it cleared, the woman stood on the edge of the crater, examining her fingernails. Rude, sure, she observed. Ashley grabbed her phone. Dead grabbed a backup unit from a tech who'd been smart enough to keep it in a Faraday bag. She hit speed dial. Edgar's line. We have a situation. On stage, Homelander and Stormfront converged. The woman didn't raise her hands. Didn't power up. She just stood there, head slightly tilted, like she was listening to music no one else could hear. Homelander's heat vision activated. Twin beams, incinerator grade, aimed dead center. She moved, not fast enough to blur. Just efficient. Half a step left, shoulders angled. The beams carved past her, close enough to scorch the denim at her shoulder. Pavement exploded behind her in twin furrows of molten concrete. She looked down at the smoking fabric, annoyed. That was my favorite jacket. She looked up. Met Homelander's eyes. Her expression shifted not to fear, not to rage. Just cold assessment. You're done. She stated it like fact, then turned and walked into the nearest alley. Homelander started forward. Stormfront grabbed his arm. Not here. Her voice stayed low. Urgent. Cameras are offline, but phones aren't. Someone's filming. She was right. Around the perimeter, civilians held up devices. Shaky footage. Bad angles. But proof. Homelander's jaw worked. His PR smile was completely gone now. What remained underneath looked hungry. Find her, he said. Ashley was already moving, phone pressed to her ear, barking orders. Facial recognition, satellite tracking. Every asset Vought had. The woman couldn't have gone far. But when security reached the alley 60 seconds later, it was empty. No footprints, no trace. Just a faint scorch mark on the brick where she'd leaned against the wall and the lingering smell of ozone. Back at the rally site, crews scrambled. Generators, backup power. Ashley coordinated damage control mind, already writing press releases. Electrical malfunction, unfortunate accident. The Seven had handled it professionally, except they hadn't handled anything. For the first time in Vaught's 70-year history, someone had stood in front of their gods and walked away bored. Ashley's phone buzzed. Message from corporate emergency meeting, 30 minutes, bring footage. She looked at the dead cameras. The fried servers, there was no footage. Just 10,000 witnesses who'd watched their heroes flinch. In the control tent, one monitor flickered back to life. A tech yelped, drew Ashley's attention. Static cleared, revealing grainy drone footage, the high-altitude unit that had been too far from the electromagnetic pulse. The frame showed the woman clear as daylight, standing in the center of the destruction. Her face turned toward the camera. For just a moment, her eyes seemed to look directly through the lens. Then she smiled. Small, cold. The feed cut to black. Ashley stared at the empty screen. Her hands weren't shaking. She wouldn't let them. But something in her chest had gone very quiet. Homelander wanted this woman found. Stormfront wanted her weaponized. Edgar would want her controlled. Ashley looked at that frozen-frame blonde-haired denim vest, that little gold pin catching light. She had a feeling none of them understood what they were dealing with. And worse, she had a feeling the woman didn't care. Number 1. A mood killer for Vought is quite worth talking about. Here at Multiverse Crossover, we have seen plenty of soups, but Android 18 is just built different. Did you notice how she looks totally bored? While the most famous heroes on Earth are posing for drones? It shows that Vaught's biggest power isn't actually lasers or strength. It is the cameras. If we do not care about being famous or liked, they have zero power over us. What is your opinion about this? Is being unimpressed a superpower when everyone else is obsessed with likes? Let me know in the comments before we see what happens in the next part. The footage hit Twitter at 11:47 p.m. Shaky, vertical. Someone's nephew with a cracked screen filming through a chain-link fence. The quality was garbage, but the content was gold. Homelander standing on cracked pavement cape draped over one shoulder, staring at empty air where a target should have been. By midnight, 3 million views. By 1 a.m. Vaught's crisis team had assembled in the tower's 19th floor conference room. Ashley paced. Her heels clicked in angry rhythm against marble. The wall screens showed analytics, trending hashtags, sentiment charts, damage projections. All red. "We spin this as a technical glitch," she said. Her voice had that brittle edge that came when sleep deprivation met career terror. Experimental energy weapon. Foreign actors testing. No one's buying that. The PR director, Reynolds, 45, already updating his resume, gestured at the feeds. They saw him miss. They saw her walk away. Ashley's jaw tightened. Then we find her before someone else does. Across town in a basement that smelled like motor oil and old coffee. Billy Butcher watched the same clip for the 8th time. "Run it back," he told Frenchie. The Frenchman, obliged fingers dancing across a laptop, held together with duct tape and spite. The image froze blonde woman, denim vest, gold pin catching streetlight. "No record," Frenchie muttered. "No birth certificate, no passport, no social media footprint. She is ghost. Ghosts don't break concrete." Butcher leaned closer. "That's a soup. Question is whose?" Huey shifted uncomfortably by the door. "Maybe she's just passing through, got lost. Lost people don't crash Vought rallies." Butcher straightened. They don't make Homelander look like a muppet on camera either. She knew what she was doing. Mother's milk entered from the stairwell phone pressed to his ear. He ended the call. "Starlight says Vaught's throwing everything at this. Drones, facial recognition. They've got tactical teams sweeping a 6-block radius. Then we move faster." Butcher grabbed his coat. "Find her first. Make her an offer." "What offer?" Huey asked. Butcher's smile had teeth. "The one where she helps us kill Homelander. We don't care what she is. We care what she can do." The alley behind the shuttered bodega still smelled like scorched metal. Android 18 stood in shadow back against brick, listening. Sirens 3 blocks north. Helicopter rotors somewhere overhead. The city had a pulse, frantic searching. She wasn't hiding. Hiding implied fear. She was simply waiting for the noise to pass. Footsteps approached from the east entrance. 4 sets. Boots on broken asphalt. She didn't turn. "Oi." British accent, confident. "You're a hard woman to track." Butcher stepped into view, first hands, visible posture loose. Calculated, non-threatening. Behind him, the nervous kid, the French one, the built guy with the tactical vest. 18 looked at them, assessed, dismissed. "Walk away," she said. Her tone wasn't hostile, just factual. Like telling someone the store was closed. Butcher stopped 15 feet out. We're not Vought. We're the people who want Vought dead. Good for you. We saw what you did to their golden boy. Impressive work. 18's expression didn't change. I didn't do it for you. Never said you did. Butcher took another step. But we've got common interests. You want to tear down their operation. So do. Don't come closer. The words came flat and cold. Butcher froze. Something in her posture had shifted, minimal, but absolutely final. Huey raised both hands. We're just talking, that's all. 18 glanced at him. Her eyes were pale blue and completely empty of concern. Where I just came from, she said, there's something called cell. Frenchie frowned. Cell-like. Prison cell. Like a monster. Her voice stayed level, matter of fact. It hunts me because I'm a piece it needs to become complete. Mother's Milk exchanged a look with Huey. Complete how? I'm not letting history repeat here. Butcher processed that. Recalculated. So you're running from something. That's leverage we can... I don't run. The correction came instant and sharp. I relocate. Strategically. Semantics. No. 18 pushed off the wall. Running means scared. I'm just not stupid. She moved past them toward the alley mouth. Unhurried. Butcher sidestepped, blocking her path. We can help you, he said. Protection, resources, intel on where this cell thing might... You want a weapon? 18 stopped, met his eyes. Something to point at Homelander and pull the trigger. I want him dead. You obviously don't think much of him either. I don't think about him at all. Then why wreck his rally? The lights were annoying. Butcher stared, trying to find the angle, the play. There had to be one. Everyone had a button to push a price to name. 18 waited, patient. Like she'd done this dance before and knew how it ended. Listen, Butcher started. The drone descended fast. Vought tactical model spotlight stabbing down through smog. The beam caught 18 dead center. Vought security. High-value target identified. Do not move. She looked up, annoyed. The drone's speaker crackled. Remain where you are for verificate. 18 bent her knees slightly, then jumped. Not superhero movie slow motion. Just vertical acceleration that defied physics. She reached the drone and under a second grabbed its housing with one hand and crushed the camera lens with her thumb. The spotlight died. She dropped back down, landing light as stepping off a curb. The drone tumbled after her, smoking. It hit pavement with a crunch of expensive electronics. The boys stared. Hurt, Frenchie whispered. Footsteps pounded toward them, heavy boots, tactical formations, Vought security. 6 men in full gear, rifles raised, on the ground now. 18 sighed. She moved. Not a blur, just economical motion. Her hand caught the nearest rifle barrel, bent it 90 degrees. The soldier yelped, stumbled back. She stepped past him, tapped another on the chest light push, but he flew backwards 6 feet and hit a dumpster hard enough to dent steel. 5 seconds. 6 targets neutralized. No blood, no rage, just efficiency. The remaining soldiers backed off, radios squawking panicked chatter. 18 turned to Butcher. I don't take orders. I don't join teams, and I'm not your button. Noted, Butcher said. His voice had gone quieter, respectful in the way people respect live grenades. Starlight materialized from the alley's far end, still in civilian clothes. She'd clearly run here, hair disheveled, breathing quick. They're mobilizing everything, she said. Then stopped. Saw 18, saw the bent rifles and unconscious bodies. Oh. 18 looked at her. You're the one who glows. Starlight, Annie said. Automatic introduction. Then realizing how absurd that sounded. I mean, yes. You were on that stage. I was. Annie's jaw set. I didn't know what they were planning. The rally, the rhetoric. I'm trying to fix it from inside. 18's tone suggested she'd heard that before. Good luck. I'm serious. So am I. 18 started walking again. Systems don't fix themselves. Annie moved to block her path. Not aggressive, just present. I found something. An email thread. Stormfront's been coordinating with a facility called Sage Grove Center. That got 18's attention. Fractional pause. What kind of facility? The kind that experiments on people. Annie pulled out her phone, showed encrypted files. I pulled it off Stormfront's account. Compound V trials, adult subjects. She's the overseer. 18 studied the screen. Her expression didn't change, but something shifted in her posture. Calculation. Why tell me? Because you're not afraid of them. Annie's voice steadied. And because if there are people being used as lab rats, someone should stop it. Not my problem. Then why haven't you left yet? 18 met her eyes. For a long moment, neither spoke. Butcher cleared his throat. Sage Grove's in Pennsylvania. 2-hour drive. We've got a van. I don't need a van. Humor us. Butcher's tone had shifted. Less salesman, more negotiator. You go your way, we go ours. But if we're hitting the same target, might as well not trip over each other. Mother's Milk frowned. We're really doing this. She just made 6 Vought operators look like mall cops, Butcher said. Yeah, we're doing this. 18 looked at the unconscious soldiers, at the crushed drone, at the 5 faces watching her with varying degrees of hope and terror. I'm not joining your crew, she said. Understood. I'm not following your plan. Wouldn't dream of it. And if you try to control me, I walk. Butcher spread his hands. You're the lady with the bent rifles. We'll stay out of your way. 18 considered. Weighed options. Looked back at Annie's phone at the facility name glowing on cracked glass. Fine, she said, but I'm not riding in your van. She walked past them toward the street. Huey whispered, how's she getting there? Frenchie watched her go. I think, mon ami, we do not ask questions we do not want answered. Above them, 3 more drones appeared, searchlights sweeping. 18 looked up once, then kept walking. She stepped once. The lights swept empty pavement. By the time Vaught's reinforcements arrived, the alley was empty except for damaged equipment and unconscious operators. The woman with the denim vest was already gone, and this time she had a destination. The narrative war started at dawn. Stormfront's face filled morning screens across America, cable news, social platforms, morning radio. She'd pivoted fast. No longer selling unity, now selling threat. We have to ask ourselves, she said, leaning forward in her chair on Good Morning America, hands clasped like a concerned neighbor. Who benefits when our heroes are undermined? The host nodded along. You're suggesting this was coordinated? I'm suggesting we stay vigilant. Her smile was careful, practiced. Threats don't always come from outside our borders. Sometimes they come disguised as chaos. Across 17 channels, the same talking points. Different faces, same script. Foreign actor, coordinated attack, anti-American agenda. By noon, the hashtag was trending. In Vought Tower's crisis center, Ashley monitored sentiment metrics. The needle was moving. Fear converted to engagement. Engagement converted to loyalty. Loyalty converted to product sales. Her phone buzzed. Edgar. The board wants containment, he said. No greeting. Permanent. We're building narrative equity, Ashley replied. Her hands moved across 3 tablets simultaneously. Stormfront's polling. I don't care about polls. I care about liability. Edgar's voice carried that flat precision that made executives quit mid-meeting. This unknown entity embarrassed our flagship product on camera. Fix it, or I'll find someone who can. The line went dead. Ashley looked at the wall screens. Footage of Homelander missing his target had been scrubbed from major platforms, but the memes kept mutating. Someone had set the moment to circus music. 4 million shares. She pulled up internal communications. Security PR. Legal, all hands mobilized. Facial recognition sweeps. Satellite tracking. Algorithmic prediction models. Nothing. The woman had appeared disrupted and vanished like smoke. Ashley's jaw tightened. Fine. If they couldn't catch her, they'd make her irrelevant. She opened a new directive. All departments priority shift to Dawn of the Seven production. Hero narrative must dominate news cycle by end of week. At the Dawn of the Seven soundstage in Burbank, chaos masqueraded as order. 300 crew members, $40 million in equipment. One mission: make Vaught's heroes look invincible on screen since reality wasn't cooperating. The director, Rainer 58, 3 divorces. 1 Oscar nomination, stood behind monitors watching playback. The scene was simple. Homelander saves a bus full of children. Triumphant music. Tears of gratitude. America wins. Cut! Rainer's voice carried exhaustion. Homelander, you're too stiff. We need vulnerable strength. Think Reagan after the assassination attempt. The actor playing Homelander, Chad, something 26. Protein shakes for breakfast, adjusted his cape. Should I do the thing with my eyes, like I'm holding back emotion? Yes, perfect, that's gold. Monitors everywhere showed different angles. The bus practical effect mixed with green screen. The children carefully diverse wardrobes focus grouped. The hero shot Homelander descending backlit divine. It was a factory. Raw fear converted to packaged hope. Security stood perimeter, not for safety. For intellectual property protection, Android 18 walked through the main entrance at 2:43 p.m. She didn't sneak, didn't disguise herself, just walked past the guard shack like she belonged there. The gate guard looked up from his phone. Hey, you need a... She kept walking. He stood. Ma'am, this is a closed set. I need to see credentials. 18 stopped. Turned. Looked at him with the same expression someone gives a malfunctioning vending machine. No, she said. The guard reached for his radio. She was already past him, moving through the lot. Him nod toward the main soundstage. He jogged after her, shouting into his walkie about unauthorized access. By the time she reached Stage 5, security had mobilized. 8 men in tactical gear, hands on holstered weapons. On the ground now, 18 pushed through the soundstage door. It wasn't locked. Nothing here was built to keep people out, just to keep footage in. Inside, 300 faces turned. Cameras, crew, actors frozen mid-scene. She surveyed it. The elaborate lighting rig, the green screen, the fake bus. The children in wardrobe that cost more than their parents made in a month. The monitors showing a reality that didn't exist. Rainer stepped forward. Who the hell are you? 18 looked at the setup. At the cameras pointed at people pretending to be heroes. At the director's chair that said, God, in Sharpie. This isn't a world, she said. It's an ad. Security burst through the entrance behind her. Rainer gestured frantically. Get her out of here before she contaminates the... 18 moved, not toward people, toward infrastructure. She jumped, vertical effortless, grabbed the main lighting rig 20 feet up and pulled. Metal groaned. Bolts sheared. The entire apparatus came down in a controlled fall, crashing onto empty floor space. Bulbs exploded in sequence. The soundstage went dark, except for emergency lighting. Someone screamed. Crew scattered. Rainer shouted into his headset. Shut it down! Shut everything down! 18 landed beside the camera array. 4 red cameras each, worth 6 figures. She didn't smash them. She just reached behind each one, found the storage drives, and crushed them. Data died with a series of electronic chirps. The footage, 3 weeks of shooting gone. She walked to the green screen, grabbed the edge, and tore. The fabric ripped like paper. Behind it, the concrete wall. No magic, no fantasy. Just the cage it all came from. Security surrounded her, now weapons drawn, but hands shaking. One fired. The rubber bullet hit her shoulder, bounced off like hitting stone. She looked at the shooter, unimpressed. That's rude, she observed. Then she was gone through the far exit before anyone could process movement. Rainer stood in the ruins of his set, surrounded by 2 months of destroyed work, and laughed. Hysterical, broken laughter. His assistant touched his arm. Sir, we need to... Call legal, Rainer said. Call insurance. Call God. We're done. The news hit Vought Tower 14 minutes later. Ashley stared at the incident report. No fatalities, no injuries, just total operational shutdown and complete data loss. The footage had been backed up, thank Christ, but the message was clear. This wasn't about violence. This was about showing Vaught's machinery for what it was. Fragile. She pulled up Stormfront's private line. "We have a problem." Stormfront was in makeup for her evening interview circuit. The Dawn thing already trending. We spin it as radical eco-terrorism. She walked through 8 armed guards like they weren't there. Then we make her the villain. Easy. Stormfront's voice carried that confidence of someone who'd won every information war they'd fought. Fear sells better than hope anyway. This isn't a PR issue. She's not trying to be liked. She's not trying to win. She's dismantling. A pause. Then, what does she want? Ashley looked at the reports. The pattern was emerging power grids, production facilities, narrative infrastructure. Never people, always systems. "I don't think she wants anything," Ashley said quietly. "I think she's just breaking cages." At the safe house, the boys watched news coverage. Multiple feeds showed the dawn of the 7 soundstage. Stormfront on 5 channels, pivoting the story into fuel. Terror threat. Coordinated assault. America under siege. Butcher muted the screens. "She's escalating." "She's effective, Mother's Milk countered. "No bodies, just property damage. That's tactical." "That's chaos," Huey said, his hands twisted together. "What happens when Vought stops playing defense?" Starlight sat by the window phone showing encrypted files. The Sage Grove emails, test results, casualty rates, Stormfront's signature on procurement orders. "She's not wrong," Annie said quietly. Everyone turned. "About the system," Annie continued. "We keep trying to fix it, expose it, reform it." She looked up. "But what if it can't be fixed? What if it just needs to break?" "That's dangerous thinking," Mim said. "So is building concentration camps for human trials." Annie's voice hardened. "Sage Grove isn't some rogue operation. It's Vought. It's what they do when cameras aren't rolling." Butcher leaned back. "So we're really doing this? Going after a black site with a woman who treats Homelander like a pest?" "We're gathering evidence," Starlight corrected. "She can do whatever she wants." "Yeah?" Butcher's smile was sharp. "That's what worries me." Frenchie entered, laptop open. "I have something." Security footage from the soundstage before they scrubbed it. He turned the screen. The footage showed 18 in the soundstage standing still for exactly 3 seconds before moving. In those 3 seconds, her eyes had scanned the entire setup, cameras angles, structural weaknesses. "She's not improvising," Frenchie said. "She's calculating, like a machine." "Or like someone who's done this before," Huey added. They watched her move. Efficient, precise. No wasted motion. Every action had clear purpose. Kimiko signed something. Frenchie translated. "She says 18 fights like someone who knows what it's like to be a weapon." The room went quiet. Starlight's phone buzzed. New intel from her Vought contact Sage Grove had just moved to elevated security protocols. Stormfront was flying there personally. "They're scared," Annie said. "Good," Butcher replied. "Scared people make mistakes." He stood, grabbed his coat. "We leave in an hour. Sage Grove's 3 hours out. Time to see what Vaught's so desperate to protect." On the other side of the city, Android 18 stood on a rooftop, watching helicopters circle the destroyed soundstage. News crawlers declared her a terrorist, a foreign agent, a threat to national security. She didn't care about the labels. She thought about Sage Grove. About facilities built to turn people into products. About cages with different names. She'd been one of Dr. Jarrow's experiments. Modified, optimized, owned. Never again. Below, sirens converged. Above, drones swept search patterns. 18 turned toward Pennsylvania. If they were building cages, she'd break cages. It's what she did. The facility looked normal from the access road. 2 stories. Brick facade. Landscaping that suggested minor medical research. A sign near the gate, Sage Grove Center. Authorized personnel only. Nothing about it suggested disposable humans. The boys parked 3 blocks out. Huey checked his phone. Starlight's GPS pin glowed steady inside the perimeter. "She's already in," he whispered. Butcher adjusted his earpiece. "Then we don't waste time." They'd planned this tight. Starlight would create distraction power, surge alarm, malfunction, something to pull security attention. The boys would slip through service entrance, grab documentation, get out before Vought realized their black site had been compromised. Simple, clean. Mother's Milk studied the fence line through binoculars. 2 roving patrols, badge-controlled entry points, motion sensors on the roof. "Sensors can be dodged," Frenchie said. His fingers worked across a handheld device. "Give me 4 minutes." Inside Sage Grove, Annie January walked corridors that smelled like industrial cleaner mixed with something metallic underneath. Her badge borrowed from a sympathetic intern who'd quit last month, worked on the outer doors. Inner sections would be harder. Staff moved past her without looking up. White coats, tired faces, people who'd learned not to ask questions. She passed a door marked Trial Room C. Nuts. Through the window restraints, monitoring equipment, IV stands. A stain on the floor someone hadn't quite scrubbed away. Her stomach turned. Subject 14 showing adverse reaction to compound saturation. A voice said from around the corner. Annie pressed against the wall. 2 technicians walked past discussing test results like grocery lists. "Terminate trial. Incinerate and log. We've got 6 more in the pipeline." They disappeared into an elevator. Annie exhaled slowly. This wasn't healthcare. This was a sorting facility for human wreckage. She found the server room on sublevel 1. The door required biometric scan, palm print, retinal verification. She pulled out the bypass kit Frenchie had rigged. 30 seconds. The lock clicked green. Inside, racks of drives, storing every trial, every failure, every body Vought had burned to perfect their product. She plugged in the external drive. Files began copying. Progress bar crawled. Her earpiece crackled. "I'm in position," Butcher transmitted. "You got the data? Downloading 3 minutes. Make it 2. Security's pattern shifts in. Alarm shrieked, not hers. Somewhere deeper in the facility. Emergency lighting flashed red. On the monitors, camera feeds showed chaos. Doors opening simultaneously, restraints releasing test subjects stumbling into corridors. Someone had opened everything. Annie grabbed her drive, still half full, and ran. 3 floors down, Lamplighter stood in front of the incinerator controls, hands shaking. He'd been cleaning. Always cleaning. Burn the evidence, burn the failures, burn what Vought broke and couldn't sell. Frenchie had found him first coming through the service corridor. They'd stared at each other, former enemies, both covered in different kinds of blood. "Walk away," Lamplighter had said. His voice carried no threat, just exhaustion. "Give us access," Frenchie countered. "Server room, trial records. You owe. I don't owe anyone anything. You owe those kids you burned." Lamplighter's hand had gone to his lighter. Automatic. Defensive. The small flame flickered between them. Then the proximity alarm triggered someone unauthorized, coming fast from the east wing. Security protocols engaged. Automated lockdown sequence initiated, including high-risk containment. Lamplighter's eyes widened. No, not that sector. The vault doors began to open. Cindy emerged first. She looked 16. Shaved head, hospital gown. Eyes that had seen past the edge of sanity and found nothing worth coming back for. A guard rushed toward her. "Subject, return to your..." His rifle crumpled like foil. He screamed once before his throat collapsed inward, invisible pressure closing around bone. Cindy walked past his body without looking down. Behind her, other subjects spilled out. Powers unstable. Minds broken. Some ran for exits. Others lashed out at everything walls equipment each other. The facility had compressed their humanity into weapons, then locked those weapons in cages. Now the cages were open. Frenchie grabbed Lamplighter's arm. "We need to move, now!" They ran. Huey met them in the junction corridor, eyes wide. "What the hell did you do?" "Nothing," Lamplighter gasped. The system released them. Someone triggered override. The west wall exploded inward, not from inside, from outside. Through the hole came Android 18, dust settling around her shoulders. She surveyed the chaos, running staff, screaming test subjects, alarm screaming, and her expression didn't change. Board assessment. She walked through the breach, like stepping through a door. Someone forgot to close. Mother's Milk raised his weapon instinctively, then lowered it. What was the point? "You're late," Butcher said. 18 looked at him. "No, I'm exactly on time." She moved deeper into the facility, not toward people, toward systems. First power distribution. She found it behind a reinforced door, marked authorized access only. The door lasted 3 seconds under her hand. Inside, rows of industrial batteries and circuit breakers feeding the entire compound. She grabbed the main junction box and pulled. Metal screamed. Cables tore free in showers of sparks. The backup generators kicked in automatically. She found those too. Crushed the fuel lines, ripped the control panels off the walls. Sage Grove went dark except for emergency lights. In the chaos test, subjects found exits that had been electronically locked. Doors that should have been sealed stood open. The facility's own security system had become an escape route. 18 moved to the cold storage wing. Rows of refrigerated units containing Compound 5, refined, tested, ready for distribution. Each vial represented dozens of failed trials. Hundreds of disposable test subjects. She didn't smash the vials. Too risky. Instead, she crushed the refrigeration units, letting temperature rise. Compound 5 degraded past 60 degrees. Useless. Months of production gone. "Stop her!" someone shouted. Security Team 6 armed guards in tactical gear. They fired. Rubber bullets first, then live rounds when those failed. The bullets sparked off her skin like hitting concrete. 18 looked at them. "Leave." They ran. She found the documentation center, physical backups, paper trails. Evidence Vought couldn't delete remotely. Filing cabinets stretched wall to wall. Decades of human experimentation cataloged like inventory. She tore the cabinets from their anchors. Metals shrieked, files scattered. Then she found the sprinkler controls and broke them open. Water flooded down, soaking everything. Paper dissolved, ink ran. Evidence blurred into pulp. In the main observation deck, Stormfront watched via backup camera feeds, phone pressed to her ear. "She's dismantling it," she said. On the other end, Ashley's voice was tight. "Can you stop her?" Stormfront watched 18 move through the facility like an inspector closing a condemned building. Efficient. Methodical. No rage, no speeches. Just infrastructure destruction. "I don't think anyone can stop her," Stormfront said quietly. "She's not fighting us. She's erasing us." The call ended. Stormfront activated her comm. "All units full retreat. Get the critical data and abandon facility." But the subjects are already loose. Containment is over. She killed the feed. For the first time in 70 years, Vought had lost a black site, not to regulators or whistleblowers, but to something that treated their machinery like garbage worth throwing out. The boys regrouped at the east exit, carrying what documentation they could grab. Starlight's drive was half full enough to prove experimentation, not enough to name every victim. They watched 18 work through shattered windows. "She's not killing anyone," Huey said. Sounded almost disappointed. "She doesn't need to," replied. "She's doing something worse. She's making it stop working." Butcher's jaw worked. This woman had just done in 15 minutes what the boys had spent years trying to accomplish, made Vaught's operation impossible to continue. And she hadn't asked permission, hadn't negotiated terms, hadn't even acknowledged they existed. "We can't control this," he said finally. "No," Annie agreed. "We can't. So what do we do? Stay out of her way. Document everything." Make sure when this goes public, people know what Vought built here. Frenchie still held his camera, filming through the chaos. Test subjects stumbling to freedom, staff fleeing. The facility's clean corporate facade shredding to reveal the horror underneath. Lamplighter stood apart from the group, watching flames that weren't his for once. His lighter stayed in his pocket. "They'll rebuild," he said. "Vought always rebuilds." "Not here," Annie said. "Not after this." The facility groaned. Structural supports compromised. Fire suppression offline. What Android 18 hadn't destroyed directly, she'd made vulnerable to everything else. Cindy emerged from the main entrance, walking steadily despite the chaos. Behind her, other freed subjects scattered into the Pennsylvania night. Some would survive, some wouldn't. But they weren't cargo anymore. She looked at 18. 2 weapons, 2 people turned into tools, and something passed between them. Recognition, maybe. Understanding. Then Cindy walked away, and 18 let her go. The facility began to collapse. Small fires spreading. Water damage turning electronics to junk. The corporate shell breaking down to show the rot inside. 18 emerged through the hole she'd made, dust coating her denim vest. She looked at the boys clustered by their van. "You got what you needed?" she asked. Butcher held up a waterproof case full of drives and documents. "Enough." "Good." She started to leave. Butcher called after her. "Where are you going?" "Does it matter? Homelander's going to come for you now." This was too big, too visible. 18 stopped, turned. Her expression hadn't changed since entering the facility, calm, cold, utterly unconcerned. "Let him come. You can't fight all of Vought alone." "I'm not fighting them." She glanced back at the burning facility. "I'm just breaking cages. It's what I do." She walked away into darkness. No flight, no dramatic exit. Just walking like someone leaving a job they'd finished. The boys stood in silence, watching Sage Grove burn. Annie's phone buzzed. Message from her Vought contact text, "Only Homelander en route. ETA, 30 minutes, he knows." She showed it to Butcher. "We need to move," he said. They loaded into the van. Frenchie drove. The facility shrank in the rear-view, orange flames visible against the night sky. "What do we do with the footage?" Huey asked. "Everything," Annie said. "We release everything. Vought wanted this hidden. We make it impossible to hide." And her Mem gestured vaguely toward where 18 had disappeared. "She's not our problem," Butcher said. "She's Vaught's problem. She's everyone's problem." M corrected. "Something that strong, that focused, that completely outside any system. We understand what happens when she decides we're next." No one had an answer. 50 miles away in Vought Tower, Ashley stood in the Emergency Operations Center, watching satellite feeds of Sage Grove burning. Edgar entered without knocking. "Containment status. Total failure. Facility compromised. Subject 0 retrieved. Test data corrupted. At least 40 subjects loose in surrounding area. Homelander, inbound. I tried to delay him, but he doesn't take orders." Edgar's voice was flat. He's going to confront her. Can he win? Edgar looked at the feed showing Android 18's heat signature moving steadily away from the facility pace, never changing, never hurrying. "I don't know," he said. "And that terrifies me more than if I knew the answer was no." He turned to Ashley. "Activate Protocol 7. If Homelander engages and loses, we need a public narrative ready within the hour." "What narrative?" "That she's a foreign weapon. That Homelander died protecting America. That we need emergency powers to stop her. And if he wins," Edgar's smile was cold, "then we make sure everyone knows Vaught's heroes saved them from the monster." He left. Ashley looked at the screens, at the burning facility, at the tracking dot that was Android 18 moving steady as a clock hand. And she thought, we built gods to control the world. What do we do when something walks through our gods like they're cardboard? Her hands weren't shaking. Not yet, but they would be. Number 1. Okay, Homelander finally realized he is not the biggest fish in the pond. "Man, I've been waiting for this, guys. But what really interests me most is how 18 treats him like a small child throwing a tantrum. She does not use any fancy moves, she just stands her ground. Honestly, Homelander's strength is mostly based on the fact that no one has ever pushed back before. Homelander landed on the overpass 17 minutes after Sage Grove went dark. Below, emergency vehicles clustered around the burning research center. News helicopters circled at distance. Cameras recording evidence Vought couldn't suppress fast enough. Smoke rose against the night sky like a funeral pyre. He'd been delayed. Ashley had tried the usual control mechanisms, scheduling conflicts, media obligations, carefully worded suggestions about optics. He'd ignored all of it. But the delay had cost him. Now he stood alone above the wreckage jaw, tight scanning for the target. She was 2 blocks east. Walking, not running, not hiding. Just walking down a residential street like someone heading home after ordinary work. He descended. Android 18 heard the sonic boom of his approach, but didn't look up. She kept her pace steady, hands in her vest pockets. Homelander landed 15 feet ahead, blocking her path. Cape settled. Perfect hero pose the one focus groups loved. "We need to talk," he said. 18 stopped. Looked at him with the same expression someone gives a detour sign. Mildly inconvenient. "No," she said. "You just destroyed Vought property, caused millions in damage, released dangerous individuals into the public." "Good." Homelander's smile tightened. "You don't understand what you've done. The chaos you've created. People could get hurt. People were already hurt, in cages, being used. That's..." He paused, recalibrating. The moral argument wouldn't work here. He switched tactics. "Do you know who I am?" "Yeah," the loud one. Something flickered across his face. Not quite anger yet. Confusion. He was used to fear or worship. This flat disinterest registered as system error. "I'm Homelander. I'm the most powerful being on this planet. I could give you anything. Protection, resources, a place in the strongest team ever assembled." 18 tilted her head slightly. "I don't want those things. Everyone wants something. I want you to move." The words came flat. No malice, no challenge. Just a request to clear an obstacle. Homelander's jaw worked. "You think you can just walk away from me? I already did. Twice. True. The rally, the soundstage." She turned her back on him both times and left. No one did that to Homelander. No one. "This is your last chance," he said. His voice dropped to that register he used when cameras weren't rolling. The real voice underneath the PR polish. "You can work with us, or you can be destroyed. Those are your options." 18 met his eyes. "Move!" "I don't think you understand." She started walking, directly toward him, not around. Through. Homelander's hand shot out, grabbed her shoulder. Her hand caught his wrist. For 1 second, they stood locked. His strength engineered, tested, proven against every challenge Vought could manufacture pressed against her grip. She didn't budge. His eyes widened fractionally. Impossible. Nothing could match his. Shabbat pushed. Not hard, just enough. Homelander stumbled back 3 steps. His boots scraped pavement. The sound was small, but devastating. He'd been moved. Rage flooded his features. The mask cracked. What lived underneath wasn't heroic. His heat vision activated. Twin beams concentrated enough to melt steel aimed at her center mass. 18 stepped left. Half a step. Economical. The beams carved past her shoulder close enough to singe her vest collar. Asphalt behind her exploded into molten divots. She glanced at the damage. Rude. Then she moved, not fast enough to blur. Just faster than his eyes could track. Her hand caught his jaw, not a punch, just a redirect. His head snapped sideways. His flight balance disrupted. He tumbled, cape-whipping, crashed through a parked car. Metal crumpled. Alarms shrieked. Homelander extracted himself from the wreckage chest, heaving. Not from exertion. From disbelief. Someone had touched him, moved him, made him look weak. He launched upward, building momentum, then dove. Full speed, full strength. The kind of impact that had leveled buildings in controlled tests. 18 caught him, one hand, palm against his chest. His momentum stopped like hitting a wall. The shockwave rippled outward, cracking pavement in a radius around them. She looked at his face inches away, rage and confusion warring for dominance. "You're not strong," she said quietly. "You're just louder than everyone else." She pushed again, harder this time. Homelander flew backward, crashed through a brick wall, disappeared into the building behind. 18 dusted off her hands and kept walking. From inside the building came sounds of destruction. Homelander emerging through debris, cape torn, face smeared with plaster dust, no longer posing, no longer calculating angles, just furious. "I am a god," he screamed. The words echoed down the empty street. No crowds to hear. No cameras to record his declaration. Just one woman who didn't care. "Then act like one, Sean," 18 said. "Gods don't throw tantrums." She turned the corner and was gone. Homelander stood in the rubble, fists, clenched chest heaving. For the first time in his life, he'd met something he couldn't overpower. Couldn't intimidate, couldn't force to acknowledge his supremacy. And she'd walked away bored. His phone buzzed. Ashley. He ignored it. Above, a news drone had captured the final moments. Shaky footage, bad angle, but clear enough. Homelander in the wreckage, alone. The woman nowhere in sight. The footage would be scrubbed, had to be scrubbed, but somewhere someone had already downloaded it. In Vought Tower's crisis center, Ashley watched the feeds with hands that had finally started shaking. Edgar stood beside her, expression carved from ice. Analysis. She's stronger than him. I gathered that from context. No. Ashley turned. You don't understand. Homelander has never been outmatched, ever, in any metric. And she treated him like an annoyance. Can Stormfront? Stormfront already retreated from Sage Grove. She knows. Edgar was quiet for 3 seconds. When he spoke, his voice carried a weight Ashley had never heard before. Something almost like fear. We've built our entire model on the assumption that Homelander is apex. Marketing contracts, international agreements, everything assumes he's the ceiling. And now we have to accept there's something above the ceiling. He turned to her. Activate containment protocol. Not for her, for him. What? Homelander can't know he's not the strongest anymore. If he loses that belief, he'll spiral. And a spiraling god complex with laser eyes is more dangerous than one unknown entity. So we lie to him. We manage perception. Tell him she caught him off guard. Tell him next engagement will be different. Keep him convinced he can win until we find a solution that doesn't require combat. Edgar pulled up Stormfront's secure line. Change of strategy, he said when she answered. We're not fighting her with soups. We're fighting her with what we do best. Narrative, Stormfront's voice crackled through. Make her the villain. Make Homelander the victim who bravely stood against impossible odds. Make the public love him more for trying. And if she destroys more of our infrastructure, then we make that infrastructure martyrs. Every damaged building becomes proof she's the monster we say she is. You want me to lose on purpose? I want you to lose battles and win the war. Can you do that? A pause. Then yes. The call ended. Ashley looked at Edgar. What if she doesn't care about public opinion? Everyone cares about something. We just haven't found her pressure point yet. And if she doesn't have one, Edgar's smile was thin. Then we're dealing with something new. And new things are either controlled or destroyed. 3 blocks from the overpass. The boys watched footage Frenchie had pulled from a traffic camera before Vaught's scrubbers found it. Homelander, Golden Boy, Apex Predator nuclear deterrent in a cape getting pushed around like a drunk at closing time. Holy shit, Huey whispered. Play it again, Butcher said. They did. Watched Homelander's impact stopped by one hand. Watched him fly backward through a wall. Watched the moment his face showed what lived underneath the manufactured heroism. Pure impotent rage. This goes public, it ends him, MM said. Which is exactly why we're sitting on it, Butcher replied. What why? Because if we blow this now, Vought has time to spin it. Edited footage. Deep fake. Homelander was holding back to protect civilians. They'll bury the truth under 6 layers of propaganda. So when, Butcher's smile was sharp, when we have enough that they can't bury it all. When we can prove Sage Grove, prove the experiments, prove Stormfront's connection, and then show the world their god is breakable. Starlight nodded slowly. One shot, make it count. Exactly. Frenchie saved the file to 3 separate encrypted drives. Insurance, on a rooftop, 5 miles from the confrontation. Android 18 sat on the edge legs, dangling, watching the city lights. She'd come here to escape cell. Instead, she'd found a different kind of cage, corporate, systematic, built from propaganda instead of metal. Homelander wasn't the problem. He was a symptom. The real sickness was the machine that made him, sold him, convinced people they needed him. Breaking him wouldn't fix anything. She needed to break the machine. Below, sirens continued around Sage Grove. Emergency crews pulling survivors from the rubble. Former test subjects finding freedom or death in equal measure. She thought about Dr. Gero, about being created to serve someone else's vendetta, about the moment she decided that programming didn't equal destiny. Vought had done the same thing, built weapons and called them heroes. Stormfront, Homelander, all the rest. Products designed to make people feel safe while serving corporate interests. 18 stood. They wouldn't quit. Vought never quit. They'd rebuild Sage Grove under a new name. They'd manufacture new heroes. They'd keep selling the lie, unless she removed their ability to manufacture anything. Not the people, the infrastructure. She looked toward Vought Tower, visible in the distance. The heart of the machine. Soon. But first, let them think they could control the narrative. Let them spin their stories. It wouldn't matter. You can't build a story on a foundation that's already crumbling. Her phone, acquired hours ago from a bodega, prepaid, anonymous, buzzed with alerts. Her face on news sites. Domestic terrorist. Unknown entity. Foreign threat. The labels didn't bother her. Labels couldn't cage what refused to be defined. She put the phone away and sat back down. Tomorrow they'd try something new. Tomorrow they'd escalate. And she'd be ready. Because the thing about cages, corporate or otherwise, was simple. They only worked if you believed they were real. 18 didn't believe in much, but she knew what real bars felt like. And these weren't them. The first shipment went down at 4 a.m. Refrigerated trucks carrying Compound V from a secured warehouse in Newark to distribution points across 3 states. Standard route, standard security, 2 armed escorts per vehicle. Android 18 stepped in front of the lead truck on the I-95 overpass. The driver hit the brakes. Tires screamed. The truck jackknifed, sliding sideways across wet pavement. She walked to the container, tore the lock off with one hand, pulled the door open. Inside, rows of temperature-controlled cases, each case holding vials worth more than most people earned in a lifetime. She grabbed the refrigeration unit's compressor and crushed it. The metal housing crumpled like aluminum foil. Temperature gauges spiked. Alarms triggered. Compound 5 degraded rapidly past thermal threshold. The second truck's security team emerged, weapons raised. Step away from the vehicle. 18 looked at them. Leave. They fired. Bullets sparked off her skin. She didn't flinch. Last warning, she said. They ran. She moved to the next truck. Same process. Crushed refrigeration, destroyed product. 3 trucks, 400,000 doses, rendered useless in 90 seconds. By the time police arrived, she was gone. At Vought Tower, the emergency operations center lit up with alerts. Newark shipment compromised. Philadelphia backup route intercepted. Baltimore storage showing unauthorized access. Ashley stood in front of the crisis board, watching red indicators multiply across the eastern seaboard. 3 simultaneous hits. 4. 5. She's targeting the supply chain, Edgar said. His voice carried the flat precision of someone recalculating billion-dollar projections in real time. Not random vandalism. Strategic dismantling. We have backup facilities, which she'll find. Edgar pulled up a logistics map. She's removing our ability to produce, distribute, and stockpile. Without Compound V, we have no leverage. So we mobilize the 7. Full response. No. Stormfront's voice came through the conference line. That's what she wants. Force engagement on her terms. Ashley turned. Then what do you suggest? We make this about fear, not her strength, our vulnerability. Stormfront's tone shifted, calculating sharp. Every destroyed shipment becomes proof of the threat. Every attack becomes reason people need us more. Edgar nodded slowly. Manufacture dependency through crisis. Exactly. Let her destroy our infrastructure. We'll rebuild it as martyrdom. The strategy was elegant, vicious, completely in character. Edgar activated his secure line. Implement Protocol 12. I want media packages ready in 30 minutes. Narrative domestic terrorism targeting American medical supplies. Medical supplies? Ashley asked. Compound V saves lives. That's the story. Edgar's smile was thin. Make her the monster who takes hope away from sick children. The broadcast went out by noon. News panels, talk shows, social media. Every platform Vought controlled or influenced. We're under attack, Stormfront said into the camera, seated across from a sympathetic host. Her expression carried perfect concern, practiced focus grouped, designed to trigger protective instincts. This isn't about politics. This is about keeping families safe. The host leaned forward. What can people do? Stay vigilant. Protect your communities. Don't let fear win. Simple, vague, effective. Within hours, hashtags trended. Citizen patrols formed. People armed themselves against an enemy they couldn't identify, but were told existed. The machine was running. Android 18 hit the second target at 2 p.m. A data processing center in Jersey City, housing Vaught's PR archives, legal records and blackmail repositories. The security was tighter here. Biometric locks, armed response teams, reinforced construction. She walked through the front entrance. The door ripped off its hinges. Guards converged. She didn't hurt them, just walked past, moving faster than their training prepared for. They fired at empty air. She found the server farm on the 3rd floor. Rows of drives storing decades of manufactured narratives, buried evidence, coerced testimonies. She started pulling drives out, one by one, methodical. Each drive crushed in her hand like crackers. A stop. A technician stood in the doorway, laptop clutched to his chest. You can't just... Icons 18 said. She continued, rack by rack, terabytes of control erased. When the backup team arrived with heavy weapons, she'd already destroyed 70% of the archives. The remaining 30% was corrupted by fire suppression systems she'd manually triggered. The data center was functionally dead. She left through the hole she'd made. At the safe house, the boys watched multiple news feeds simultaneously. She's escalating, MM said. She's effective, Butcher corrected. 3 supply lines cut, 1 data center destroyed. Vaught's bleeding. So are civilians. Huey gestured at a feed showing citizens confronting anyone who looked foreign. This is getting out of hand. Starlight pulled up social media trends. The rhetoric was intensifying. Threats, calls for violence, people scared and angry directed by Vaught's narrative machine toward anyone who fit the other category. Stormfront's doing exactly what she does best, Annie said quietly. Using chaos as fertilizer. Then we counter it, Butcher replied. Leak the Sage Grove files. Show what Vought really is. If we leak now, we're just adding fuel. 2 competing narratives, ours gets drowned out by whatever Stormfront pushes harder. So we wait while she destroys everything. We wait until the right moment. When Stormfront's exposed, when the system cracks, then we release everything at once. Annie's voice hardened. 1 shot, maximum damage. Frenchie looked up from his laptop. She just hit another target. Broadcast relay station in Queens, 3 minutes ago. They pulled up the feed. The transmission tower, 80 feet of steel and equipment, bent at a 45-degree angle. Irreparable. How many is that today? Huey asked. 7 confirmed. Probably more we haven't tracked. Butcher leaned back. She's not trying to kill Vought. She's trying to make it stop working. Will it? MM asked. They watched the screens. Despite the destroyed infrastructure, Vaught's message kept broadcasting. Different channels, different platforms. The logo changed, but the narrative remained. The machine was damaged, but it was still running. In a penthouse suite, Homelander paced like a caged predator. His reflection stared back from floor-to-ceiling windows. Cape, immaculate suit, perfect face, a mask of controlled fury. Below, his city was being dismantled piece by piece. And he'd been told to stand down. Public opinion isn't ready, Ashley had said during the emergency call. You engaging now makes you look reactive, desperate. I am not desperate. Then prove it by letting Stormfront set the narrative first. You come in as the solution, not the problem. He'd agreed. Barely. Because somewhere in his manufactured brain, he understood the game. But understanding didn't ease the rage. Someone had challenged him, beaten him, made him look weak. And now they were telling him to wait. His phone buzzed. Stormfront. How are you holding up? Her voice carried false sympathy. Fine. I know this is hard. Being sidelined while she tears things apart. I'm not sidelined. I'm being strategic. Of course you are. A pause. When this is over, when we have the public behind us completely, then you end her. In front of everyone. Restore order. The promise was hollow. He knew it. But it gave him something to focus on, besides the gnawing realization that he might not be able to end her at all. Just make it soon, he said. The call ended. He looked at his reflection again. The perfect hero. The invincible protector. The lie was showing cracks. Android 18 stood on the roof of a condemned building watching Vought Tower in the distance. 7 sites destroyed today. Supply chains disrupted. Data erased. Broadcast capabilities crippled. And yet the message kept spreading. Different voices, different platforms. Same poison. She'd underestimated something. The infrastructure she was destroying, the trucks, the servers, the towers, those were tools. Important tools. But not the source. The source was belief. People believed Vaught's heroes were necessary. Believed the threats were real. Believed the narrative because questioning it felt dangerous. You couldn't punch belief. Below, sirens converged on her latest target, a logistics hub now burning. Emergency services scrambling. News helicopters circling like vultures. She'd hurt Vought today. Genuinely damaged their operational capability. But damage wasn't destruction. Vought would rebuild, relocate, rebrand, unless she removed what they ran on. Not power, trust. Her phone buzzed, still anonymous, still disposable. News alerts. Her face on every screen. Terrorist? Threat. Enemy of America. Stormfront's handiwork. Professional. Effective. 18 put the phone away. Tomorrow, Stormfront would push harder. The rhetoric would intensify. The violence would escalate. And Vought would position themselves as the only defense against chaos. It was almost beautiful in its efficiency. Almost. But systems this elegant had weak points. Pressure points. She just needed to find Stormfronts. Because the thing about people who lived by narrative, they died by exposure. In the operations center, Edgar reviewed damage assessments. 17 facilities compromised. Estimated loss, 400 million. Compound fine production capacity reduced by 60%. Backup systems online, but vulnerable. Ashley stood beside him running calculations. We can recover. 3 weeks minimum, 6 months for full restoration. If she gives us 3 weeks. So we accelerate the narrative. Make Homelander the protector. Make her the monster. Drive public sentiment to critical mass. Edgar nodded. And Stormfront. She's pushing the story exactly as planned. By tomorrow, half the country will be demanding action. And the other half will be called complicit. The division was intentional. Calculated. When people were busy fighting each other, they stopped looking at who was pulling strings. Edgar pulled up the tracking data. Android 18's last known position, somewhere in Lower Manhattan. She's learning, he said quietly. Adapting. Realizing property damage isn't enough. What do you think she'll do? Edgar looked at the screens showing Stormfront's latest broadcast, 20 million views, and climbing. She'll go after the source, he said. She'll come for Stormfront. Can Stormfront handle her? No. Edgar's voice was flat. But she doesn't need to win. She just needs to die publicly enough to make the woman who killed her into exactly what we've been saying she is. Ashley went still. You want Stormfront to lose? I want Stormfront to sacrifice. Martyrs are worth more than victories. He closed the files. Inform Stormfront. New objective, draw her out. Create the confrontation, document everything. And if Stormfront actually wins? Edgar's smile was cold. Then we have a different problem to solve. The rally wasn't planned. It emerged organically the way mobs always did when fear found direction. 2,000 people gathered in a Queens parking lot, armed with phones and improvised weapons. Signs declaring protection, flags declaring ownership, faces declaring certainty. Stormfront appeared on a makeshift stage at 7 p.m., backlit by portable lights someone had donated. No Vought branding, no official sponsorship, just grassroots anger channeled through a woman who'd spent decades perfecting this exact alchemy. They told you to be afraid, she said into a borrowed microphone. Her voice carried across the crowd, amplified by cheap speakers and unlimited conviction. They told you there's nothing you can do. The crowd roared, but you're here. You're awake. And you won't let them take what's yours. Simple words, vague targets, maximum inflammation. Android 18 watched from a rooftop 3 blocks away. She'd tracked Stormfront through social media chatter, leaked schedules, predictable patterns. Finding her wasn't difficult. The woman broadcast her location like a signal flare. Below, the rally intensified. Chance, anger, the particular energy that preceded violence. 18 started toward it. At Vought Tower, Ashley watched the live stream with growing horror. She organized this without clearance, she said into her headset. No security, no damage control, no exit strategy. Edgar's voice came through calm and analytical. She doesn't need our permission anymore. She's become the movement. So we pull her back. Remind her who pays? We can't. Edgar pulled up analytics. She has 14 million followers, half of them armed. If we try to control her now, we look complicit in weakness. And if we don't, then we document everything. When this goes wrong, and it will, we have evidence she acted alone. Ashley looked at the screens, at Stormfront addressing a crowd that treated her words like scripture. At the careful distance Vought was already establishing. Martyrs were valuable. Liabilities were expendable. The line between them was thinner than most people realized. The boys sat in their van, 2 streets over, monitoring police scanners. This is bad, Andina MM said. Crowd's getting agitated. Cops are pulling back. Someone's going to get hurt. Someone already has. Huey gestured at his laptop. Reports flooding social media, people attacked for looking foreign, speaking different languages, existing wrong. Butcher loaded a weapon he'd sworn never to use, unless absolutely necessary. We go in, we're outnumbered 100 to 1. So we wait? Annie's voice was tight. Let them tear each other apart. We wait for the right moment. When it's chaos. When no one's watching us. Frenchie pointed at the live stream. She is coming. The feed showed Android 18 walking down the center of the street. Not hurrying, not hiding. Just walking directly toward 2,000 people who'd been told she was the enemy. Christ, Butcher breathed. She's going to walk right through them. The crowd saw her first. Someone screamed. Others pointed. Within seconds, the mob's attention shifted from abstract threat to concrete target. Stormfront smiled. This was the moment she'd engineered. The terrorist walking into patriots. The threat made manifest. The story writing itself. She raised her hand, plasma crackling between her fingers. Not threatening. Protective. the hero standing between danger and innocence. "There," she said into the microphone. "Perfect timing, perfect staging. See what we're fighting." The crowd surged forward. 18 stopped 20 feet from the nearest person. Looked at the mass of angry faces, at the phones recording, at Stormfront orchestrating from the stage. "Go home, Ma," 18 said. Loud enough to carry, flat enough to mean it. Someone threw a bottle. It shattered against her shoulder. She didn't flinch. Last chance. More objects flew, rocks, bricks. The courage that came from numbers. 18 sighed. She moved. Not toward the crowd, toward the infrastructure. The portable lights, she grabbed the main support and pulled. The entire rig collapsed in a shower of sparks. Darkness swallowed half the lot. The sound system, she found the generator powering it, crushed the fuel line. The speakers died mid-chant. The cameras, every phone pointed her direction, every live stream broadcasting the moment she jumped, grabbed the nearest cell tower and bent it 30 degrees. Signals dropped, streams cut. The digital audience went dark. In 15 seconds, she had eliminated the stage. Stormfront descended plasma building around both hands. This was still salvageable. One-on-one, hero versus villain. The cameras would come back. The story would spread. She launched a bolt. 18 stepped aside. The plasma scorched pavement where she'd been standing. "You can't win this," Stormfront said. Her voice had changed. Dropped the practiced concern, revealed the steel underneath. "Even if you beat me, you've already lost. They see you. They know what you are." "And what's that?" Stormfront's smile sharpened. "Different, wrong, not like us." There it was, the mask slipping. The ideology showing through the influencer polish. Someone in the crowd was still filming on an old camcorder analog, immune to the cell disruption. The lens caught everything. "This country needs to be pure," Stormfront continued. She wasn't performing now, just speaking truth. "People like you don't belong here." 18 tilted her head. "People like me, you know what I mean." "Yeah." 18's voice stayed level. "I do." She moved. Not the blur Homelander had seen. Just speed that made Stormfront's reflexes look slow. Her hand caught Stormfront's wrist mid-plasma generation. Squeezed. Bones cracked. Stormfront screamed. Tried to pull away. Couldn't. "I've met people like you before," 18 said quietly. "Different planet, same garbage." She twisted. Stormfront's shoulder dislocated. The plasma flickered out. "You hide behind words, behind followers, behind the idea that if enough people believe you, you're right." Another crack, Stormfront's other arm. "But belief doesn't make cages real. It just makes people think they need them." She released Stormfront. The woman collapsed, both arms, useless face twisted in pain and rage. "You're still nothing," Stormfront gasped. "Just another." 18 turned away. "I don't care what you call it." She walked through the crowd. No one touched her. They parted like water around stone. Behind her, Stormfront tried to stand. Couldn't. The woman who'd built an empire on strength lay broken in a parking lot, surrounded by the followers she'd cultivated. The camcorder kept recording. By morning, the footage would be everywhere. Vought couldn't scrub it. Stormfront's words, her mask falling. The ideology laid bare. Some would call it fake. Others would defend her. The country would split further. But the woman herself was done. At Vought Tower, Edgar watched the last transmission before the blackout. "Bring her in," he said. "Medical wing. Full containment protocol." Ashley hesitated. "She's still breathing. For now." Edgar closed the feeds. "Call PR. I want a statement ready. Stormfront was a rogue actor. Vought condemns all forms of extremism. We're cooperating with authorities. You're cutting her loose." She served her purpose. Built the audience. Primed the market. Now, she's a liability. Edgar's smile was thin. The beautiful thing about movements is they don't need the person who started them. He pulled up recruitment analytics. Applications for the 7 had tripled in the past week. Fear-driven, anger-fueled. Perfect. Stormfront falls, he said quietly. But what she sold keeps selling. The parking lot emptied slowly. Police arrived. Ambulances, news crews with satellite uplinks that actually worked. Stormfront was loaded onto a stretcher, still conscious, still defiant. Her followers filmed it. Martyrdom in real time. The boys watched from the van as the scene dispersed. "She's alive," MM observed. "For now," Butcher replied. "But her career's done." "Is it?" Annie gestured at social media. The hashtags were already shifting, some condemning Stormfront, others defending her. Arguments splitting families, friends blocking friends. "She lost the fight but won the divide," Annie said quietly. "That's what she wanted all along." Huey slumped in his seat. "So even when they lose, they win. Welcome to the real fight," Butcher said. "It's not about putting down bad guys. It's about killing the idea that made them gods." Frenchie pulled up footage from the camcorder already uploaded, already spreading. Stormfront's words. Clear. Undeniable. "This helps though, yes?" he asked. "It helps some people see," Annie said. "The ones who wanted to see. The others will find reasons to ignore it." On a different rooftop, Android 18 sat watching the cleanup. She'd removed Stormfront from the equation, stopped the immediate threat, broken the figurehead, and accomplished almost nothing. The followers remained. The anger remained. The fear Stormfront had cultivated would outlive her by years. You could punch a person. You couldn't punch a belief system. Below, someone spray-painted a wall. Stormfront was right. Someone else crossed it out, wrote Nazi scum. The argument would continue. The division would deepen. Vought would find someone new to fill the gap. 18 thought about Dr. Gero, about being built for someone else's war, about the moment she'd realized the war was pointless. Vaught's war wasn't pointless. It was profitable, and profit didn't need victory, just perpetual conflict. She stood. One more target, one more piece to remove. Not Stormfront, not Homelander. The machine itself. Her phone buzzed a message from an unknown number. Just 2 words. "Thank you." She deleted it. Gratitude implied she'd done this for them. She hadn't. She'd done it because cages offended her, in any form. Whether Stormfront's followers learned that was their problem. In the Emergency Operations Center, Ashley watched damage assessments. Stormfront's public approval 38% and falling. Compound V production still crippled, infrastructure 40% operational, unknown entities still at large. Edgar nodded. And Homelander, demanding action, wants to engage directly. "Tell him to wait. We're pivoting strategy." "To what?" Edgar pulled up files. Recruitment, training, product development. Stormfront proved people want certainty. Protection. Someone to tell them who the enemy is. He looked at Ashley. "We don't need Stormfront specifically. We just need the role filled. You're replacing her. I'm upgrading the product line." Edgar's smile was cold. This time with better quality control. The machine didn't mourn its parts. It just kept manufacturing new ones. The statement went out at 9 a.m. Vought International condemns the recent acts of violence perpetrated by rogue elements. We remain committed to protecting communities and supporting heroes who serve with integrity. The 7 stand ready to defend America against all threats, foreign and domestic. 300 words. Vetted by legal. Tested with focus groups. Designed to mean everything and nothing. By noon it trended. Sponsors who'd pulled funding quietly returned. Stock prices stabilized. The machine absorbed the damage, recalculated, continued operating. In the tower's Emergency Operations Center, Ashley coordinated reconstruction. Compound 5 production rerouted through secondary facilities. Data backups restored to new servers. Broadcast capabilities distributed across redundant networks. Edgar watched the recovery metrics climb. 6 weeks to full operational capacity, Ashley said. Maybe 5 if we push contractors. Take 6. Make it look difficult. Edgar closed the projection. Struggle sells better than efficiency. And the unknown entity, gone quiet. Either left the city or planning something larger. Edgar pulled up recruitment data. Applications for the 7 had quadrupled. Fear converted to dependency, exactly as projected. Either way, she gave us the best marketing campaign we could have asked for. Ashley stared at him. She destroyed 17 facilities, crippled our supply chain, exposed Stormfront as a liability we needed removed anyway. Edgar's voice stayed flat. Stormfront served her purpose, built the audience. Now someone else fills that role with better optics. You planned this. I planned for variables. She was one. Edgar stood. The beautiful thing about systems isn't their perfection. It's their resilience. You can damage individual components. The architecture remains. He left. Ashley looked at the screens, recovery timelines, damage assessments. A company that had been gutted rebuilding itself within weeks. She pulled up social media trends. Half the country calling for Android 18's capture. The other half defending her as a freedom fighter. Both sides buying Vought products. The machine didn't care which narrative won. It profited from the fight itself. At the safe house, the boys sat in exhausted silence. 3 weeks since Sage Grove. 2 weeks since Stormfront's fall. The footage had spread her words, her ideology, her broken body in that parking lot. Some called it justice. Others called it assassination. The arguments continued. The division deepened. Nothing had changed. We didn't win, M said finally. We exposed them, Annie countered. But her voice lacked conviction. We exposed one person. The company's still standing. The 7 are still operating. People still worship Homelander. Butcher hadn't spoken in an hour. He sat cleaning a weapon he'd never fired, movements mechanical. She could have ended it, he said quietly. One move. Homelander's head through concrete. Vought collapses without their golden boy. That's not what she came for, Annie replied. Then what? Smash some trucks, break some cameras, make us feel productive while accomplishing fuck all. Dimas, she broke cages. That's what she said she'd do. And left us to clean up. Butcher's hand stilled. Left us fighting the same war, against the same bastards. With one less weapon. She was never our weapon. That's the problem. Huey looked between them. Maybe that's the point. We keep trying to fight them on their terms. Find the right weapon, make the right move. But Vought doesn't work like that. They don't lose battles. They just absorb damage and rebrand. So we do nothing, MM asked. We do what we can. Document, expose, chip away. Huey's optimism sounded hollow even to himself. Eventually what? Butcher stood. They'll feel bad, have a change of heart. The machine runs on profit, not conscience. He grabbed his coat. Where are you going? Annie asked. To find something I can actually kill. The door slammed. Frenchie and Kimiko exchanged looks. She signed something. Frenchie nodded. She says the woman understood, he translated. About being a weapon. About refusing to be aimed. Yeah. Annie's voice was quiet. I think she did. Android 18 stood on the roof of a building scheduled for demolition. Below the city sprawled millions of lives intersecting, competing, surviving. She'd been here 3 weeks. Destroyed infrastructure, removed threats, broken the machine's most visible components, and changed almost nothing. Vought still stood. The 7 still operated. People still bought the lie because the lie was comfortable. You couldn't punch a system. You couldn't break a belief. All you could do was refuse to participate. Her phone buzzed. She'd kept it despite knowing it was tracked. Let them know where she was. Let them try. The message was from Butcher, one more job, name your price. She deleted it without responding. Below, a news truck pulled up. Reporters setting up for a segment about neighborhood recovery. The script was already written, Resilience Unity Heroes, keeping watch. No mention of what created the damage. No questions about why it happened. Just the story Vought wanted told. 18 turned away from the edge. She'd come here running from Cell. Found a different kind of cage, corporate systematic, built from propaganda instead of steel. She'd broken what she could reach. But some cages existed in how people thought. Those required different tools. Tools she didn't have. Tools she didn't want. She thought about Krillin. About the moment he'd chosen not to activate the shutdown remote. About being trusted to make her own choices. These people didn't trust like that. They wanted heroes they could direct. Villains they could blame. Simple narratives for complex problems. She wasn't simple, and she was done pretending to be. Her phone buzzed again. Different number. Message from Starlight. Thank you for what you did. I know you don't care, but it mattered. 18 stared at the words. Did it matter? Stormfront was gone, but her followers remained. Vought was damaged, but rebuilding. The cycle would continue. But people had escaped Sage Grove. Files had been exposed. One small crack in the facade. Maybe that counted for something. She deleted the message. Gratitude implied debt. She didn't do debts. Across the city, Homelander stood in his penthouse, watching the same skyline. Somewhere out there, the woman who'd humiliated him lived free. Unpunished, unbowed. It gnawed at him. Not the physical defeat he could rationalize that as surprise bad timing, whatever lie let him sleep. What gnawed was the indifference. She'd looked at him like he was weather. An inconvenience. Nothing. His reflection in the window showed the perfect hero. Cape immaculate. Smile camera ready. The lie was getting harder to maintain. Ashley had told him to wait. To let Vought rebuild. To trust the process. But trust required believing the process could protect him. And the woman had walked through their best defenses like tissue paper. His phone rang. Edgar. Status update, Edgar said without preamble. The unknown entity hasn't been spotted in 72 hours. Either gone or dormant. I could find her and do what lose again on camera. The words hit like bullets. Homelander's jaw tightened. I didn't lose. I was beaten, publicly. We've managed the narrative, but another engagement risks exposing what we can't afford exposed. That I'm not the strongest, that we don't control the strongest. Edgar's voice was cold. Fear works when people believe the monster serves them. The moment they realize it doesn't, we lose everything. So I do nothing. You do what you've always done. Be the hero. Smile for cameras. Let us handle problems that require thinking instead of heat vision. The line went dead. Homelander stood alone in manufactured perfection, staring at a city that still worshipped him. For now, Android 18 left at dawn. No announcement, no goodbye. She simply walked to the city limits and kept walking. Behind her, Vought Tower gleamed in morning light. The machine already rebuilding, already selling the next lie. She didn't look back. Somewhere in that tower, people were deciding how to spin her departure. Claiming victory. Manufacturing narrative. Let them. She'd never been fighting their war. She'd been breaking cages, her own mostly. The rest was their problem. At the safe house, Annie found a note tucked under a coffee mug. No signature. Just 4 words in precise handwriting. I don't save worlds. She showed it to the others. Cold MM observed. Honest, Frenchie corrected. Butcher crumpled the note. Wasted time. All of it. But Annie kept the paper. Smoothed it out. Pinned it to their evidence board, next to photos of Sage Grove survivors, leaked documents, Stormfront's exposed rhetoric, small victories, incomplete justice. The slow, grinding work of fighting systems instead of people. Not satisfying, but real. On television, a new commercial played. The Seven standing heroic against a sunrise. Homelander front and center. Voiceover, promising safety, strength, protection. The same promises, different package. The machine ran, and somewhere past the city limits, a woman with blonde hair and a denim vest walked a road with no destination, answering to no one, controlled by nothing. Free, the only way that mattered.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and be sure to turn on notifications so you won't miss our future videos. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.